Good evening, everyone. Welcome to our weight management production, if you will. Today's the 17th of January. We're going to be talking about different ways and different products specifically from dōTERRA that can help you in your weight loss or weight management efforts. Many of us, myself included, went a little bit overboard during the holiday season. And for some of you, I know the holiday season is not quite done. So in the meantime, while you're waiting for your next big feast, we've got some great product recommendations for you and some lifestyle, I think, recommendations as well. If you've never done this before, if you've never been on the call, we're so happy that you're here. Welcome. Let us know in the chat. The chat is open and this is being recorded live. So if you'd like to just introduce yourself and say hi, if you have a question, we'd love to hear it in the chat. In the meantime, take a moment now and just hit that subscribe button. We always love to hear from you, and you can add your comments if you're subscribed. You can get notifications. We are increasing our subscribers actually all the time, which is a really exciting news. So please hop on, and then we're going to get started right away. I'm going to share my screen with you. And I've actually got, I think, a pretty interesting presentation for us to take a look at today. We are in the, I don't even know, we're in the beginning of 2022. It's so crazy. And if you're on and you can see my screen, if there's any, could you just give me a thumbs up? I'd really appreciate it for anybody who's live. Okay, thank you so much. I think we're going to have a really good presentation today. I'm really looking forward to it. Okay, so natural and permanent weight solutions. We are always talking about staying healthy, right? And one of the best ways that we can stay healthy is to help maintain a healthy weight. And so we know that many, especially chronic health issues, are very much affected by being overweight. We want to make sure that we can bring our weight back into a normal range. A BMI in the United States, a BMI of 25 is considered normal. I know sometimes outside of the United States that's considered high. Something more along the lines of 23 is considered more normal depending on where you're from. But in the US, and I think in Europe, a BMI of 25 is considered normal. So if you can calculate your BMI, there are tons of BMI calculators and out on the market, very easy to find. You can basically, based on your weight and your height, you can see that that number, if you will, that keeps you kind of on track. Where am I, and am I on the right track? So the presentation today is primarily from the book Essential Oils Healthcare Tip for today, a beginner's guide, but I drew heavily from two other sources, which I think you should know about. If you haven't heard about them yet, I've been mentioning them on this podcast or on this call for quite a while, and I think they are both worthwhile resources. So you've got a pen and pencil, or you want to just kind of take a screenshot, either one is fine. The one that I really love is a relatively new book that's called How Not to Diet by a doctor called Dr. Michael Greger. He wrote a kind of really big New York Times bestseller called How Not to Die, which was a really big hit. Obviously, we're all going to die, but the premise was, can we do things that are going to help us to not only extend our life, but extend our life in a healthy way, as healthy as possible? This book, How Not to Diet, kind of builds on that and talks about groundbreaking science of healthy and permanent weight loss and permanent weight maintenance. Got some great tips in there. I think I've studied this subject, I have to say, for just years and years. And I feel like it's something that never gets old, but he really has collected just studies and research and information that I personally had never seen before. He runs a podcast, a weekly podcast. It's called Nutrition Facts, which is the other bit of information that I wanted to share with you here. Nutrition Facts is on wherever you get your podcasts, whether it's on Apple Podcasts or someplace else. And each and every week, and actually every few days, it seems like to me, he comes out with new and different information specifically about health, not always about weight loss, but just a lot of interesting facts about nutrition. He has put together a nonprofit organization called nutritionfacts.org, and you can go to their website. You can type in just about any sort of health issue that you might have and see the latest research. And it is funded, it's a nonprofit, and basically all of what he does goes back to his research. And I think he has something like, I don't know, hundreds literally of volunteers that help him to go through the studies and to find the research. And he does not work alone, but really a kind of a one-man effort, but well worth investigating. If you haven't seen or heard of him before, he's a really kind of interesting character. When you get on, you'll hear his voice is, he's a little bit high pitched, which is kind of interesting. And super enthusiastic. I really love his enthusiasm when his delivery is beyond the pale, but he's got some really great information. So I hope you'll check him out. Welcome everyone. If you haven't been here before, or we haven't met before, I'm Elena Yordan. I love supporting people and their health and journeys, whatever that journey may entail. We're not always talking about weight management, of course, but all different sorts of things. And I feel like now during the pandemic, more than ever, we want to be able to support your health in the best, easiest way possible. I was talking to a friend of mine the other day. We were talking specifically about essential oils. And I was saying, I don't know what I would do if I didn't have essential oils. I would just, I don't know, I guess I'd be at the pharmacy all the time looking for over-the-counter solutions. It's a slippery slope because so many of those have added chemicals and things that I wouldn't want to be putting in my body, where I feel that essential oils are natural substances that I can add and feel comfortable doing so. So that's just a little bit about me. I started using essential oils, I want to say about 15, a little more than 15 years ago. And it's been, I've never looked back, and it's been a really great trajectory for me. Let's actually commit to this journey, right? So whether we believe losing weight or maintaining our weight is hard or bordering on impossible, we don't like the word diet. Diet implies that this is something that we're going to do for a short amount of time and then we're going to go off it. It will not work. We want to be able to maintain a healthy weight by developing and maintaining a lifestyle that's going to keep us healthy for the rest of our lives. I think if we go on these diets, we can become very cynical. And when we try to achieve good health, our plan very often will fall short. Newest fads, pills, miracle cures that are on the market. I'm sure you're getting all sorts of advertisements in your downloads, whether it's in your social media feed. Instagram and Facebook are filled now with ads of how to do this and how to do that and how to lose weight. And it's really kind of crazy, all kinds of new fads. So let's drop the fads. Let's really think about where are we going in a healthy manner and how can we going forward maintain ourselves in a way that is healthy and safe. I would say in general, results speak louder than words. If you're able to hit your goal and sustain the outcome, that's where everyone really struggles. And I think sustaining is what we're talking about here today. So if you're able to achieve your goal, and I know that some of you have been very successful in your weight loss efforts, we want to help you to stay there because maintaining your weight really is the biggest thing. And that's the thing that helps us in our long-term health. Weight loss, of course, is a huge accomplishment. We want to help you to maintain it and maintain a healthy lifestyle in general. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about body fat. First of all, what is body fat? So body fat cells, also known as adipose cells or adipocytes, I think that's the correct pronunciation, are specialized cells that contain a large droplet of lipid or fat, so large in fact it squeezes the nucleus and other cell structures to the side of the cell. The number and size of the fat cells varies from one body structure to another and from one person to another. Clusters of fat cells make up adipose tissue or body fat, and fat has really three important functions in the body. So sometimes people will say, oh my gosh, I want to get rid of all my fat. You really can't do that because fat really does have a good use in our body. That's why we have it. So number one is fat provides protection or padding for vital organs and structures acting as a shock absorber in the body when we experience the physical impacts of life, like things like walking, running, sitting, and falling. If we had no fat, we would really, the muscles and the bones would just kind of bump against each other, would not be very pleasant. High amounts of adipose tissue are stored beneath the skin, around the stomach, hips, and buttocks, providing protection for vital organs. So that's number one use, and that's a good use, right? We want to protect our internal organs. Number two, fat provides insulation that helps slow heat loss through the skin. Very low body fat percentage is associated with low body temperature, which is why sometimes when you see people that have been ill for a long period of time, they're frequently cold or just cannot maintain their body temperature for long periods of time. Maintaining constant body temperature within a narrow range is crucial for normal body function. And I'm sure if you've been walking in and out of many different stores and places now, and they take your temperature every time you walk in, you know that our temperature absolutely varies, but it varies between a small window and over, actually in Fahrenheit it's 98.6. If it's over normal temperature, it can be an indication of illness. Under usually has to do more with the ambient temperature. And of course, if your temperature is very low, then that's something that may also be an indication of some sort of illness. The third and primary function of adipose tissue or body fat is energy storage. And our bodies make energy from the food we eat, but although the use of our energy is constant, right? Because our heart is always pumping and our lungs are always working and our brain is always functioning. Our food intake is not, right? We don't have to sit around shoveling food in all day long. We're not like a coal furnace that we constantly have to be fed with something morning, noon, and night. We're actually able to go to sleep and not eat at all, right? For many hours during the night. Our bodies have several ways we can store energy for constant use. And one of the primary sources of stored energy in the body is fat. So next time you're thinking, oh, I just wish I could get rid of it all, you don't want to get rid of it all. It really does maintain your body in a healthy and safe way. And if you didn't know that, then now you do. And this, of course, this cute little baby, the little rolls on their body are just so cute and adorable. And obviously babies often are chubbier. Why? Because it's harder for them to maintain their body temperature. So they need that extra fat. So don't ever think that, oh, my baby's too fat. No, your baby needs that extra pudginess to maintain their body temperature and protect their little organs. So just sit down for a minute because I have some interesting statistics for you. Number one, it is estimated that more than half of adults in developed nations are estimated to be overweight, and 15% of all children in the developed world are also overweight. And this number is exploding and really is expected to rise in the very near future. Obesity is a global health epidemic associated with dramatic rise in diseases such as diabetes, hypertension, heart disease, stroke, and cancer. So we want to really eliminate or limit our fat or the amount of fat that we're carrying on our bodies as much as we can, because it really is a function of good health. Dr. Hill, when he spoke about overweight in one of his talks, I want to say a couple of years ago, indicated that the fat that we store specifically around our midsection is the most dangerous of the fats, that fat begins to produce its own hormones, if you will, and those hormones can deregulate our body. That fat, if it accumulates over a long period of time, or if it becomes larger than it should, can really create more long-term problems, long-term health problems that we would like to avoid. So many health challenges are lifestyle related, which means with better decision-making, we have the potential to avoid them in the first place. So let's not, today we're talking about preventive healthcare versus reactive healthcare, reactive sick care. And so as we talk about some of the issues that are going to come up today and some of the products, I want to help you to incorporate some of these things to make sure that you're really staying healthy in the long run. Okay, so something I want to remind you of, you are not a caveman. So there's been a huge trend lately for people to begin to eat large quantities of meat, because there's a craze, and I'm sure you've heard of it, different sorts of extreme dieting trends. There's a lot of factors that contribute to being overweight or obese. For some of the factors are complex and involve extenuating health circumstances, but for most, weight gain in the form of excess adipose or fatty tissue results from poor lifestyle habits and choices. And there have been many studies, including studies done by Dr. Greger, who I cited right at the beginning of this presentation, that say that the excess consumption of meat, specifically of animal protein, can be deleterious to our health in the long term. One theory of unhealthy weight gain can metaphorically be described as caveman syndrome, with two basic concepts of the theory. One is that your body does not believe your food supply will be constant. And number two is your body believes you'll have to work very hard to obtain your food. So obviously, when we were cavemen millions of years ago, your body tells us to feast on the food that's available right now, and tells you to eat foods that are packed with calories so they can be easily converted into energy, as you'll likely be chasing more food or being chased as food in the very near future. So when I talk about the caveman problem, I'm talking about two different things. Number one is the reason our body tends to hold on to calories. And number two is the trend that we're seeing of people trying to eat large quantities of animal protein and resist eating other sorts of foods to their long-term deleterious effect on their body. So I'm talking about both things. You want to make sure that you have, when you eat food, you want to make sure that you have food that will provide you with energy and with general good health, to support your life functions, and your body's going to store the rest as fat. It's just the way it is, right? So we want to be able to consume foods that we're going to be able to burn up quickly and not store them as fat as much. So if that makes any sense to you, we want to have that feeling of fullness without storing our food as fat as much as we possibly can, right? In the developed world, most of us don't have to hunt for food. We can find food at any juncture. One thing that I also want to remind you of is that in the real world, the world we live in right now, we see very frequently foods that combine fat and sugar. And that's a very dangerous combination. Actually, in the wild, there are no foods. So take a moment and reflect on this. There are no foods, actually zero, that combine fat and sugar. So fruits have sugars, of course, but they have no fats. And foods that have fats, things like avocados or nuts, have no sugars or very low sugars. So that combination of high fat, high sugar really does not exist in nature. And those are the types of foods that you want to make sure that you're avoiding, because they are going to be the ones in the long term that are going to upset your whole balance of your desire for good health. So fast, cheap, convenient food, sometimes super flavorful, maybe a little bit greasy, available in high quantities just about everywhere on every street corner. Affordable, convenient sources of food, sweets and fats are the foods your body prefers. Now, I often tell the story when I was growing up, and I'm sure when many of you were growing up, you could not buy a cake at every corner. Even supermarkets didn't have cakes the way they do now. You can now buy something sweet and something very tasty, literally within probably a few steps of your home at any time of the day and night. I remember when I was growing up, my grandmother especially would occasionally bake a cake for us. Maybe it was summer, we would include some kind of fresh berries or fruits in it. And if it was wintertime, maybe it would be a jam. But in general, we hardly ever ate cake or any sort of sweeties, just because if you wanted a sweetie, you had to make it. So it was more difficult. But now there's no difficulty. You could go into any market and pick up a cake or a scone or whatever it is, a muffin, really at your fingertips. And those are the things that we want to kind of avoid. So those foods that are combining fats and sugar. And again, I'm going to remind you, you're not a caveman or a cave woman, right? And we are not going to be forced to go without food for any long periods of time. There's always going to be food available. We just have to make sure that it's the right foods that are available to support us in our health goals. So why are so many people struggling with their weight, right? So I'll give you a couple of quick reasons. Of course, eating more calories than necessary to sustain our healthy life function, lack of physical activity, too much stress and not enough rest. So sleeping not quite long enough, toxic stressors that promote fat storage, starving ourselves, which is that idea of that kind of cyclical dieting. I'm going to starve myself now, but then later on I'm going to binge. Processed food, too much sugar, too much dairy, and the list really goes on and on. So we're going to combat some of those things with our dōTERRA products, and then we're also going to give you some tips on some lifestyle choices. Many of you remember the wellness period, the wellness pyramid from dōTERRA, everything from proactive medical care all the way down to eating right. But the concept basically is that eating right is at the basis of all of our choices. If we're eating right, exercising, managing our stress, and reducing our toxic load, that's kind of the foundation of our pyramid. That's what's going to keep us healthy. These are the fundamentals of a healthy lifestyle, and each one is a building block for the next. So I'm going to ask a quick question. I hope you'll be able to give me a quick answer. So where is your head right now? After I've told you this information, told you a little bit about Michael Greger, are you excited, afraid, frustrated? Let it all out. I want to hear it. So does this seem like information that's interesting to you? Are you on track? Are you ready to start this journey with me? Because I've got some great products that I want to talk to you about. Just let me know in the chat, how are you feeling in general? Because I have to say, I'm feeling energized. It's a new year. I think we've got some good things going on. We've got some very good, we've got some good information that we're going to share with you. And if you haven't seen some of these dōTERRA products before, this is a great way for you to get started. Anna says she's feeling hopeful. That's terrific, Anna. And I think when you hear about these products, you're going to really say to yourself, I'm so glad that I got on today and I found out a lot of interesting things. So I'm going to share a handful of choices that will 100% contribute to your ability to keep your weight within a normal range, keep weight off if you've recently lost it, and most importantly, thrive. So most of what you'll read is obvious, right? None of it is earth-shattering. But this is when we fall short because we think it's easy, but it's not necessarily a short-term solution, right? We're changing our lifestyle. Bonnie says to tell us that she just started on Slim and Sassy soft gels last week and feeling hopeful. That's great. So we're going to talk about what's one of the products we're going to be talking about. My one request is that you keep listening, right? Because we've got some interesting things and maybe you've never heard about them before. So let's go. Okay. So number one on the hit parade, should you eat less? That's a really good question. Eating less or starving ourselves is not a long-term solution to weight loss. While for the quick fixes, right? You need to fit into some clothes for a wedding or a big party. Very often restricting calorie intake can provide us with quick results. However, as a long-term solution, reducing our calories to 1,200 or 1,000 every day, or even less, because I've heard of starvation diets when people will really reduce their calorie intake, is not a sustainable solution. So how do we lose weight and keep it off? I know you're fully aware of the word calorie, but what a calorie actually represents is a measurement of energy units of dietary nutrition from things like carbohydrates, fats, and proteins. But did you know there are several ways that these calories can be stored as fats in our bodies? So our body's preferred source of calories for energy are carbohydrates and fats. And healthy carbohydrates, things like whole grains and fruits and vegetables, are excellent ways for us to be getting energy during the day. Fats we want to eliminate. And interestingly enough, most fats are processed foods. Now, if you're getting some fats from healthy foods like avocados or nuts, great. That's a terrific way for you to get some fats into your diet. But if you're using added fats, pouring them on salads and other things, or cooking with a lot of fat, or using butter or other sorts of things, those are the fats that we really want to eliminate as much as possible. I have to say, this year for the first time, or in 2021 for the first time, I actually heard someone say that fats are processed food. And I thought to myself, that's really the first time I had ever heard that, but it really is true. Fats are a processed food. So if you're trying to avoid processed foods, you want to reduce the amount of fat that you're consuming. Carbohydrates can be stored as glycogen in the liver and muscles and are also used in energy production. So excess calories from carbohydrates that are not used up as glucose or stored as glycogen are stored as fat. So when we're talking about carbohydrates, we're kind of separating them into two different categories. There are what I'm going to call the healthy carbohydrates, things like whole grains, fruits and vegetables. And then we've got the processed carbohydrates, anything that's made with flour or made with sugar or that has been processed in any way. If you can clearly identify that it was picked off of a tree or came from some sort of farm, those are the healthy carbohydrates that we really want to be ingesting on a regular basis and filling our plates with in a normal day, because those are the things that are going to help us to feel full, right? And then also help us because they're usually very dense, but not calorically dense. So if I were to give you a pound of celery and say, here, sit down and chew this up, it would probably take you about an hour, right? Because you'd be just chewing and chewing and chewing. Your jaw would get tired before you even got through that whole pound of celery. But as opposed to eating, say, I don't know, a pound of cookies, which you could probably go through lickety split with maybe a cup of coffee or a cup of tea. So we want to make sure we're choosing those foods that are nutrient dense and also take time for us to eat. So I'm going to call this kind of the soup and salad diet, because we want to make sure that we're really ingesting as many fruits and vegetables as we possibly can. Dietary fat is an excellent and preferred source of readily available energy in your body. So when you consume fats, your body's happy because it gives us a quick boost of energy. The problem with our modern diets is that we consume excess amounts of fat, primarily in the form of processed fats. So those are those oils, whether it's olive oil or canola oil or avocado oil or any other sort of oil, coconut oil that we're just adding into our food to give it that mouthfeel or flavoring. Those are the types of oils that we really want to avoid. Your body is super proficient at storing the unused calories you eat as fat. So calories consumed minus calories burned equal calories stored as fat. And so I don't know if you can see, but I have my love mug. I'm jumping the gun a little bit for Valentine's Day, but I couldn't resist. For those of you who don't know, Valentine's Day is my favorite holiday. Oh my gosh, one of my favorites. So very soon I'll be wearing my red clothing and getting ready for Valentine's Day. But needless to say, if you are a Valentine's Day lover, or if you're a Lunar New Year lover, you know that there could be some big treats coming your way. Maybe in the next 2 weeks, what you want to be doing for the next few days at least is lowering your caloric intake and really making sure that you're ingesting as many fresh fruits and vegetables as you can. One of the tricks that I found that's been super helpful to me is when I wake up in the morning, I have actually a kitchen scale. Many of you may have a kitchen scale. And if you don't, it's easy to estimate how much things weigh from the packaging size. I'll very often get up and weigh out about pound of vegetables. So that's about half a kilo of vegetables and fruit. And I'll put them in a small basket right in the front of my refrigerator. So every time I open the refrigerator, what do I see? Fruits and vegetables. So it could be anything from carrots and celery sticks to pepper strips, maybe some berries, perhaps an apple, whatever it is that I think I'm going to want during the day. And honestly, a pound of vegetables or a half a kilo of vegetables is a lot of food. You'd be surprised at the volume of food. Of course, if you're thinking about a pound of lettuce, it's a massive amount. But I feel like those are the foods that are really going to fill me up. And also, if they're prepared and they're right in the front of my refrigerator, I'm more likely to grab for them, right? Whatever's available, that's the thing that I'm going to grab for. So things like cucumbers, any sort of watery vegetables. And the other benefit is your skin really begins to look marvelous because vegetables have they have cellulose, they have water in them, they have lots of micro and macronutrients, all of which are going to improve your health enormously. Okay, so eating less, we just talked about it, unsustainable. Food can be both physically and emotionally pleasurable. So when we're hungry, our bodies send powerful signals through various psychological, physiological pathways to let us know that it's time to eat. When we respond by eating, equally powerful signals reward us for responding to our body's desires to eat. So if we are continuously saying, no, 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 you're not going to eat, you can imagine how psychologically we basically mess with our brains. When we reduce the amount of calories our bodies are used to getting, when we diet, our appetites are heightened and we experience physical and emotional discomfort, which is why, as I mentioned before, it might be a short-term solution if you just need to take off a few pounds, but not a long-term solution at all. Permanent and healthy weight loss will most likely result from a gradual decrease in the calories we consume. And honestly, the easiest way to reduce the number of calories is to increase the volume of low-calorie foods. And that's one of the things that Dr. Greger talks about. He also talks about adding certain spices to the food that have been shown in studies to help with weight loss. Really fascinating. His research is amazing. Okay, so let's just talk about eating right. So number one on the hit parade, I would say, is try to eat healthy foods. Eat organic if you can, if it's available to you. Conventional agriculture very often is sprayed with pesticides. If you are eating things that are non-organic, make sure that you're washing them well. If they are fruits with peels or skins, you can even wash them with your On Guard liquid hand soap. I keep a pump of that next to my kitchen sink, and I'll wash the exteriors of things like cucumbers or apples. You don't want to rinse perhaps berries with that, but other hard oranges, right? You could really wash the exterior with that very easily, and then rinse, because you may not want to have that flavor on your food, but it does take off some of the waxes and the bacteria on the exterior of the food. Second thing, you want to make sure that you're doing things like incorporating good, healthy fats, avocados, olives, I forgot to mention those before, coconuts, nuts, and seeds. All of those are healthy fats that you can feel free. Don't get crazy, right? Because fat has a lot of calories, more calories than carbohydrates and other things. We have 9 calories per ounce in everything in our fats, but they are a healthy way to add fats into our diet. We want to drink water, of course, on a regular basis. I actually left my water in the other room. I don't know what I did with it. I'm not drinking as much cold water right now because I'm still a little worried about my cough coming back. And I know if I talk for an hour, by the end, if I start sipping cold water, it'll be a disaster. And that's not something we want here. But 8-ounce glasses, or basically 2 liters a day, is something that you want to make sure that you're achieving. And if you're living in a cold climate, even when it's cold, sometimes when it's cold out, we tend to think, oh, I don't need that much to drink. I'm not that thirsty. Whereas it's warm out, we tend to want to drink, right? Because we're perspiring and we're about to replenish some of those fluids. But when it's cold out, like it is here, I want to say it's about -5 centigrade today, maybe a little bit more. It's also snowy and rainy, so it's kind of a yucky day. In general, my first inclination is not to drink water, because I think if water is cold, I don't want to be cold, but I have to keep up my fluid intake while drinking herbal teas and other things. I am drinking coffee in this cup. I don't know if you can see in my cup. Let's see. Yep, there we go. I'm drinking coffee in my cup, but I drink usually half decaf, half regular, and I drink my coffee black, as you can see. So it does provide me with a little bit of water, but I have to make sure that I'm drinking fluids and other things. The other thing, as I said before, tons of fresh fruits and vegetables. Make it a priority to not only purchase fresh fruits and vegetables, to prep them and to leave them in a prominent place in your kitchen, wherever that place may be. For me, everything from peppers to cucumbers to mini tomatoes, celery, anything that you can possibly think of that you like. When you get to that supermarket, bring it home, prep it up, cut it up into pieces, leave it in an appetizing way in your refrigerator so that you begin to really snack on that. And every time you open your refrigerator, you say to yourself, oh, you know what, this is something that I really want to grab for. So So those are just a couple of things that I know that you want to incorporating into your diet. Now let's talk about our dōTERRA products, because we've got some great ones. So number one on the hit parade, and this is something that Bonnie mentioned earlier, is our Slim and Sassy line. We've got our Slim and Sassy soft gels and our essential oil. So what can you do? You can be taking your soft gels throughout the day. I would probably be taking at least 3 soft gels during the day. And then, so morning, noon, and night. And the other thing that I would be doing is I would be using my metabolic blend, the essential oil blend, in my water. Now, you could also be diffusing this blend just to create that ambiance. There are many studies that have shown that some of the oils in the Slim and Sassy blend can actually help you just through their scent. So Slim and Sassy contains grapefruit, lemon, peppermint, ginger, and cinnamon. It can help you to reduce your caloric intake throughout the day, and both aromatically and internally, the oils can help to calm the stomach and any kind of gastrointestinal stress you may have as you shift your diet. One of the things that people talk to me about is as they maybe give up meat and begin to incorporate more beans, which are lower calorie and less fatty, they have some sort of stomach upset, right? Because beans can give us a little bit of that gassy feeling until your body becomes adjusted to eating in a different way. Even eating a ton of fresh fruits and vegetables can sometimes upset our stomachs if we're not used to eating those. We're used to eating processed foods that go down very smoothly and don't require a lot of energy to really be digested. So we've got to make sure that as we're making that transition, we're keeping ourselves feeling comfortable. Even just smelling grapefruit oil can help calm your appetite. Ginger and peppermint oils calm the stomach and support gastrointestinal, any sort of discomfort and function. And lemon has been shown to elevate mood, which has been clinically associated with successful weight loss efforts. To slow down and stop the storage of excess calories as fat in our bodies, we need to decrease our caloric intake and increase our physical activity. Interestingly enough, one of the things that Dr. Greger talks about is that, at least in the United States, people are increasing their physical activity, but they're not decreasing their calories enough to off balance that expenditure of calories in exercise. I think a lot of people are mistaken that if you go to the gym for an hour, you can come back and eat a burger and fries. It doesn't work that way. What basically the amount of energy that you expend, even in 1 hour of exercise, is usually not equal to any sort of high fat, high caloric meal. So, you want to exercise because it's healthy, great for your heart, great for your muscles, for your bones, all different sorts of things, for your weight loss, your energy levels, your weight loss efforts in general. But it doesn't give us free license to go out and say, hey, I'm going to just have this very highly caloric thing. And I think you already know that. You've heard this in the past. But we can't out-exercise a bad diet. Does that make sense to everyone? So you can't out-exercise a bad diet. You want to be able to sip your Slim and Sassy throughout the day. For those of you who haven't done this in the past, you want to use a water bottle that's either stainless steel or glass, or not a plastic one, because you want to make sure that it's not deteriorating any of the plastic. So add it to your ceramic, glass, or stainless steel water bottles or water containers. You can 10 to 15 drops daily is about all that's needed. And if you can, up to 25 drops. So we always say 24 drops in 24 hours. So just keep that in mind as you're taking your Slim and Sassy throughout the day. Next on the hit parade are our new nutrition line. Let's talk a little bit about our nutrition products. So if you haven't had a chance to try them, they are amazing, I have to say. Combining these powerful products with exercise, healthy eating, and stress management can help you to maintain your weight. I love this graphic, actually, because it shows the difference in the products. I have been using the fiber and the vegan protein on repeat. I just absolutely love them. I'm trying to increase my fiber intake because I've read a lot of studies that show that many of us don't get enough fiber, and that increasing your fiber intake into the even 50-gram range can be something that really is transformative in terms of our health. And so I've been using the fiber product on repeat to try to make sure that I'm increasing my fiber intake. I love the vegan protein. Been using it in many different shakes. A little bit less now because it's super cold, but even when my daughter was here over the last few weeks, we made one kind of a smoothie bowl, if you will, with lots of vegetables and kale, and we use the vegan protein to give it a little bit of more oomph. So these are what the packages look like. So from left to right, we've got our proteins, we've got our fiber, our greens, and then finally our vegan protein. So just according to if you haven't heard, according to the National Health and Nutrition Examination Survey, 31% of the US population has a vitamin or iron deficiency. 95% of adults have inadequate vitamin D intake, which is crazy. And 97% do not meet the recommended daily fiber intake. Doesn't surprise me. I have to say, before I started really looking at my fiber intake on a regular basis and kind of calculating it using an online app, I thought I was eating a lot of fiber, but when I started actually calculating it on the app every day, I was shocked at some of the things that I thought had fiber in them and really did not. And so now I'm a lot more conscious, and I'm including foods in my diet, my daily diet, things like celery and other foods that are really very fibrous. Beans, of course, whole grains have a lot of fiber in them, and that can easily and quickly increase your fiber uptake. Why do we want to increase our fiber uptake? Well, for a couple of reasons. Number one is that it is that feeling of satiety. So we feel more full and more satisfied if we eat something that has fiber in it. Fiber tends to kind of slow down the process of digestion and helps us to stay that full feeling for longer. So whenever we consume a food with fiber in it, we're more likely to not be craving something right afterwards. So that's number one. And then number two is we want to eat more fiber because fiber tends to drag other unhealthy things out through our elimination system. So fiber is kind of like a scrub brush, if you will, going through our digestive system, going through our intestines, and helping us to eliminate anything that we don't need in our body. The better our elimination system is, the healthier we're going to be. And honestly, the more easy it is for us to maintain our weight. So if you're not a person who eliminates regularly, and maybe this is too much information for first thing in the morning, you want to include more fiber in your diet. So getting fiber from the dōTERRA fiber products can be an easy way to do that. Okay, let's talk about another favorite product of mine, Terrazyme enzyme complex. Why do I love Terrazyme? And I have to say, I didn't always love it. I think for me, I misunderstood it. Let me know in the chat if you're a Terrazyme consumer and why it is that you like it. I have to say, it was one of those things that I always thought, do I need that? Am I going to take that? But now that I've started taking it, I really love it. So number one on the hit parade is we want to get as much nutrition from our food as we possibly can, especially now as many of us are dealing with viruses and that have been going around for a long, long time. We want to make sure that our nutrition levels stay really high, right? We want to be fully nutrient dense or getting all the nutrients that we can from our food. It's also an important part of any weight maintenance program. Taken with every meal, it's going to help to maximize our nutrient absorption, which is essential. And it contains a blend of whole food enzymes that are often depleted once your food is cooked or it's been processed. In case you're wondering what enzymes do, they actually help to break down the proteins, fats, carbs, sugars, and fiber that we eat so that we can more easily digest and absorb it. And we know that a lot of our food has been depleted nutritionally as our soils become depleted, that even things that we consider healthy, even organic food, just doesn't have the same level of nutrition that it did even a generation ago. So enzymes help us to extract as much nutrition from our food as possible. Some 75% of the enzymes that we use should come from the foods that we eat. However, our food only has about a fifth of the enzymes that were contained in the 1950s. So that's not that long ago. It's like 70 years ago. And outside of cooking, enzyme depletion is caused by changes in farming methods, freezing foods, mass production, eating out of season, pasteurization. We do produce some enzymes ourselves, but as we age, so they say after about the age of 30, we don't produce as many enzymes as we did originally. So just keep it in mind. It's something that you want to make sure that you're taking your enzymes. You can take between 1 and 3 Terrazyme with every meal. I was also taking a few extra last week. As you know, I told you I had a cold. I think when we have any sort of where our immune system is depressed in any way, we want to make sure that we're getting good nutrition from our food. Take those before bed so that you can really begin to feel better and for the body to heal. And I have to say, despite the fact that I had a little bit of a head cold, I was tested twice, as was my daughter, twice for COVID, but both times, or all 4 times really, we came out negative. So it was just, I think, a head cold. We came through fairly quickly. And as you can see, I'm yakking today and not coughing. Thank goodness, right? I'm really pleased about that. Next on the hit parade is our PB Assist and GX Assist, which helps us with the digestion. Now, PB Assist is something we can take all the time. GX Assist we're going to take for cleansing, right? So when we're taking our GX Assist, we want to make sure that we're thinking about our healthy elimination. The combination of essential oils and caprylic acid cleanses our digestive system. That's in our GX Assist, and helps all other functions of the body perform at their maximum potential. So we can use our GX Assist usually for about 10 days and more, not more. If you're looking for a natural way to cleanse, it can support a healthy digestive system, especially after overindulgence. So if you've been just living it up, folks, right? Now might be the time for you to take a little bit of GX Assist and kind of cleanse out the body. We can do another presentation about cleansing in the next couple of weeks. But for right now, just suffice it to say that GX Assist can be your friend. Your PB Assist is something you're going to use. Actually, that's something you want to incorporate into your daily routine. You're going to take 2 pills a day to help support your healthy digestive system. And it's going to give you a positive balance of bacteria. We need bacteria in our systems. We also want to make sure that we're getting additional bacteria, healthy bacteria, from the fiber and from the veggies and fruits that we're eating. So those healthy foods plus our PB Assist are going to be the things that help us to increase that healthy gut flora, right? Those are the things that are going to help us in the long run. Dr. Greger talks again and again about healthy gut flora and how important it is for us to maintain that and to build it and to treat it almost like a garden, right? We want to make sure that our gut flora helps us. And all of these things are going to help us to maintain our weight and to also help us to lose weight if that's something we want to do. Okay, I know I'm talking like crazy here, my goodness. Lifelong Vitality Pack, super important. You all, I think everyone here knows about Lifelong Vitality Pack, but if you're not getting enough nutrition from your food, if you've been stringently dieting or you're thinking of going on a very strict diet, you want to make sure you're getting your vitamins, your minerals, your nutrients, and a Lifelong Vitality Pack is the way to do it. We want to help talk about a couple of lifestyle decisions, and then we're going to talk about 1 or 2 more products. So aerobic exercise, obviously 30 minutes per day, at least 5 times a week. That's the exercise that's going to get your heart pumping, whether it's bicycling quickly or running on a treadmill or even riding a stationary bicycle or using your elliptical machine, walking the stairs, whatever it is, but consistently raising that heart rate for at least 30 minutes a day, 5 times a week. Exercise should be fun and something you look forward to doing every day. If it's drudgery, at the very least, try to do it with another person that you like so that the 2 of you can support each other. I have to say that one of the things that I love about the Christmas holidays is that my whole family exercises together. So it's super cold here, so we don't go out to exercise, but we do get to the gym together. We kind of check in the whole family, and we have a family gym membership, and we go in, we each do our own thing. We don't like all do the same thing at the same time, but it's nice to be able to get in there. And usually between 45 minutes and an hour, we're kind of wrapping it up and bringing it on home. But it's kind of fun to be able to say, okay, we're going, what time are we going? 10 o'clock, and we all get our gym clothes on and everybody gets to the gym. It's a good thing. And I think it's a really healthy habit for all of us. Think about strength training, especially as you age. Outside of your aerobic training, it's important to incorporate strength training for 30 minutes, 2 to 3 times each week. I've seen some wonderful videos online of one of our regular contributors here, one of our regular attendees, who's doing some amazing things, Suan B, with strength training. And I know others of you are doing similar. You started a strength training program. Congratulations to anybody who's involved. And I know a couple of you from other parts of the world have just had amazing transformations, physical, and I'm sure mental and emotional, from having incorporated a really good health and wellness program. Strength training can include a lot of different things when we think about lifting weights, but we can do all different sorts of things, whether they are push-ups and sit-ups and just using our body weight, or doing things like yoga and Pilates that can be wonderful for balance, for breathing, but you want to do some sort of strength training at least 2 to 3 times a week. Flexibility, another thing we want to consider, especially as we age. It's interesting. We can become very stiff and unflexible as we age, and we have to make the effort or the conscious decision to continue to maintain our flexibility. I once read something that says the difficulty that you have getting up from the floor once you've sat down on the floor is an indicator of your age. So the more difficulty it is, the more difficulty you have, the more your aging process is advancing. So just something to keep in mind. Wendy's asking, PB Assist must go with GX Assist? No, not necessarily. When we're talking about cleansing, we're talking about using the two of them together. We're not talking about cleansing today specifically. We're talking about weight maintenance. But GX Assist is a great way for you to clean out your system if you've been overindulging. After you've finished about 10 days of GX Assist, then you want to go off of it, but you do want to maintain and keep taking your PB Assist. So that's just a small aside. Okay, let's talk a little bit about natural energy. This is a product, MITO Max, that I take every single solitary morning without fail. I took mine already this morning when I first came down. It helps us to maintain higher levels of energy throughout throughout the day. 2 things, I think. One is, I don't know, you just get more done. You just using the two together, the MITO Max and some sort of a natural energy blend like peppermint and wild orange, your day just goes more smoothly. Now, I have to tell you, I am looking around my office right now, and it is frightening because I had been doing a lot of work here over the holiday season. And then I guess between Christmas and New Year's kind of dropped it, then got the head cold. And now it looks like, I don't know, someone shook the room and then just let it all fall. And so today after I get off this call, I got to get out here and clean this place up because it is a mess. I'm looking forward to my MITO Max, and I'm going to put on some really good music and put on something terrific in the diffuser, like peppermint and wild orange, just get me motivated and get moving. You can even set your watch if you've got one of these smart watches to record the amount of steps that you're taking throughout the day, maybe even as you're cleaning. I think there may be even a cleaning or a dancing thing that you can set on the watch that can record, and that can be part of your exercise, your daily aerobic exercise, if you're doing it right in an aerobic way, right? You're not just kind of dusting with a small feather duster, you're kind of really moving it around. The other thing we want to do is manage stress, rest, relax, and renew. If you're not sleeping, it's going to be really hard for you to lose weight. So begin to look at your sleeping habits. Over the last few weeks, we did do a big presentation about sleep. Want to make sure, if you haven't seen it, go back and take a look at it. It's really sleep in depth and all the ways that having good restful, restorative sleep can help you. You really do deserve to be healthy. When you have your health, you have 1,000 dreams. And when you don't have your health, you have one. And the one dream you have is to become healthy again. So maintain your health, value it, cherish it, take care of it. And it really will extend the beauty of your life from now and into the years to come. Because I have to say, your health is one of those things that if you can maintain your health, I've got a couple of friends whose parents are elderly and they're really healthy and vibrant. And I think to myself, that's a beautiful way to age and just enjoy your later years. Okay, so now what, right? What do I use? How do I get started? Take a look at the list of products that were in here. You haven't had a chance to order them, go ahead and put them into your cart. Talk to the person who brought you to this presentation. They can help you with anything that you need to order or that you don't have in your, and then go back through maybe some of the older presentations that are here on YouTube and take a look. You may find some additional information. You can go through. We've got tons and tons of video recordings on just about every topic that can kind of help you to fill in the gaps. Please subscribe to our channel. I've still got you here. Get the conversation started in your own family and with your friends, and then follow along on all of our social media channels because we're always coming out with new information on a daily and weekly basis. Thank you. Thank you. I'm going on about dōTERRA essential oil products, but it's a lot about health and lifestyle. I want you to stay healthy and to really feel good about yourself. There's a lot going on in the world, but when you step back, really, it's about how you feel about yourself in the world. And I think that's more important than anything else. So the best is yet to come. 2022 is promising, I think, to be a really interesting year ahead. Wherever you are, there's going to be something. I don't know. I'm feeling excited about the new year. I know we've had a blip in cases, COVID cases, but I think we're going to get over and it's going to be okay. Please follow us on all of our social media outlets. We're on Instagram, of course, and Facebook, and right here on YouTube. And wherever you may be, thank you for having been here. I'm so happy that you were able to join us. Remember, you are amazing, and have a wonderful week. Thanks for having been here. So if you're live and you're on this presentation, just hang on. We're going to be giving away some fun gifts. And if you are not live and you are on the recording, thank you for having been here. Have a wonderful week, everyone, and we'll see you all back here. Next week, we're going to be talking about, I don't know what we're going to be talking about, but we'll be back again talking about some other new and exciting topics, all about staying healthy, getting healthy, and staying healthy. That's really our goal for 2022. Have a wonderful week, everyone.